Hello, people. How are you all? Welcome back to the RCBian Chelsea Fan TV. Well, what a week we've had in football, right? Well, international football, this is what it is. The peak of international football, knockout competitions at its best. We had eight knockout ties just in the last few days. And you know what? Four of them went to extra time, as you all saw, and two of them going to 3-3 score lines with both, having great comebacks toward the last minutes. Really, got my mojo even further, beyond in international football, and that is what we all are here for to discuss. Yes, Euro 2020 again, but every game had at least, I think, a couple of Chelsea players, a current Chelsea player or a past Chelsea player involved in crucial moments. So I've got two of my Chelsea buddies and big fans at that. One, firstly, Chelsea Perspective. How are you, Coachila? How are you? Welcome
I'm
again to the
doing
stream.
well, my friend. I can't complain. Always happy to talk football with you. So I'm glad to be here.
Really glad that you could take off time. I know that it's a busy schedule for you today, but always, happy to talk football with you. And of course, guys, I have updated the descriptions again. It is Chelsea Perspective, an upcoming channel. You all should go and subscribe. It's all there in the description. Definitely, Coachila is, great at that, and some great content out there for you all. So do enjoy for sure, right? I will invite the second guest, of course, and big up to Nischal. Nischal, I'll just get in the. Yes, Nischal, how are you? Welcome to the stream.
I'm very well, thank you. Good to be on.
Really glad
Nice
that
to
you are
see you,
able to
Nischal.
come. Well, yes, it's the first time that Nischal is on RCBian Chelsea Fan TV, and RCBian Chelsea Fan TV and myself. We are really glad that we could get Nishal's time because, yes, he is an upcoming journalist, very well known already to people like us, and a great writer at that, sports blogger. You should definitely check out his blogs. Nishal, I have
Yeah.
updated your links as well in the description. So I'm hoping that some of you all go and take a look and definitely give it a thumbs up because he is covering a lot of international football as well as Chelsea content that you should definitely check out. I do for sure, right? And yeah, definitely looking forward to you guys. So Nishal, first of all, congratulations to you. It was a great historical triumph that Switzerland got this Euros. I think it's the first time that you guys are in the quarterfinals, if I'm not wrong. How does it feel? Like I'm sure like it was a goosebump moment for you, right?
First of all, thank you very much for your kind words and for congratulations. Honestly, it's still surreal and it's still unbelievable. Like I said, the first time we've reached the quarterfinals of the Euros and the first time we've reached a major tournament quarterfinals in 67 years, which really shows how big of an achievement it is for us. And it's unbelievable. Honestly, I've been following Switzerland all my life, and it's a real honour and a privilege to see the team who, in my opinion, are the golden generation of Swiss football, be in the quarterfinal and make it this far because we've been wanting it year after year. We've fallen short at the round of 16 in 2014, 2016, 2018, even far back as 2006. And every time we've come so close, yet so far. So to get over the line, beating the world champions of all teams, beating France on penalties, Kylian Mbappe, Olivier Giroud, Karim Benzema, Antoine Griezmann, all of these stars, and to come out on top in front of the eyes of the world is just a massive honour. And I can definitely say I'm very proud to be Swiss and very proud to be supporting Switzerland because we've done an incredible job and we're still going. We've got a huge chance to go further in this tournament, perform against Spain. And honestly, I can't wait. And I'm very, very proud of Switzerland.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
if you don't mind, Ankit, I have to say this is another prime example of against all odds because nobody gave them a chance. Honestly, nobody gave them a chance, but they didn't look like they were going to lose that game. They showed character, passion, commitment, and they all played for each other. It was a different ball game altogether. And that game also proves that you can't script the game of football. You just cannot. Simple as that.
Totally agreed there, Coachella. Definitely, it is one of those ties that basically, everyone loves football for, like just that particular, X factor that it had, right? As in, till the very nth moment it was. And we'll definitely discuss in detail for sure. Having said that, yeah, it may be coming home as well. So you never know, right? As in, that was in history in itself, beating, I think, Germany after 55 years in a knockout competition in such a big tournament, right? So it is going to be close. So having said that, guys, I believe we should get down to business and start the first topic. Okay. Well. As I said, it was Chelsea everywhere. I know that people in the chat are there from other channels as well and other clubs that they support. So I'm sure that they would be having a slight question there. But I'll probably start off with you, Nischal. I know that we saw a lot of Chelsea players perform this particular round as well. But in your mind, I'll put you in the spot, like to begin with, right? And then who is that Chelsea player who really has stood out this Euros for you? And what is that moment that probably you would highlight for that Chelsea player?
If we're talking about individual moments, you could look at Cesar Azpilicueta getting that goal against Croatia, putting Spain in front with his first goal for his country. You could look at Kai Havertz, who had a really good tournament before he got knocked out. But their individual moments, they had bright sparks. Azpilicueta goes on, but Havertz is out. For a player who's really stood out for me is Jorginho, and that's because he's been the most consistent, the most standout player, and really key in that Italian midfield. And when you look at a team which is full of stars, Barella, Verrati, Immobile, Insigne, Jorginho has been key in that midfield. He may not have stood out as one of the best midfielders in the tournament or being world-class every game, but that level of consistency is what you need at international games. You can have a stunning game in 1 or 2 games, but if you don't consistently perform across the tournament, you're not going to do well and your country won't go far. So Azpilicueta, Havertz, Gilmour all deserve praise for individual performances, but Jorginho has been a standout across the tournament for me.
Yes. I would go with that as well for sure, right? Because Jorginho stood out, like even in the game, like the recent game, the crucial knockout fixture, right, against Austria, he played all the minutes and it was Verrati who was taken off, like you said, right? And that tells us how important he is. And it's, again, like every stream almost, it feels like I'm repeating myself, but the fact is that we should respect Jorginho much more than, what he is. I know a lot of us do, but a lot of us don't, right? So that's prime example, right? Coming to you, Coachila, right? As in, I think Nischal mentioned about Havertz, right? Havertz has been fantastic for me as well. I agree there. One of the standouts for sure. But do you think Germany, did not utilize a full potential of Havertz? Because at times, they played with Werner up front, at times with Muller up front, with Havertz playing only half the games up front, like what he did in the Champions League final. Is that something that Germany missed a trick, you think?
You can't say exactly. I would say the problem with Germany is that talent alone cannot win you trophies. You have to be a bit more pragmatic, and that I didn't see the team that would they stuck with that same style that they're known for, which you have other coaches. So study your team and understand how you play, and then find a way to, neutralize the threat you pose. So the problem to me wasn't who started the personnel on the pitch. It was just the way the way he, the formation and approach he employed. Like I said, you have to be pragmatic to some measure to be able to win, win trophies. Like if they were a bit more pragmatic, and the truth is, they missed some clear chances, but also you have to add pragmatism to your approach to sometimes, win games, and that they did not do. So I don't think it's about Havertz starting with Werner together or the way they are deployed at Chelsea. I don't think that was the problem at all.
Right, because coming to Nischal, just continuing from what Coachila said, right? Even in yesterday's game, for example, against England, Havertz, I think, played Werner through a couple of times. I think it was probably Rudiger to Havertz to Werner, right? We could see the Chelsea pass kind of coming through, but not the finish, right? So that is the reason I asked that. So, do you see Werner realistically, being at Chelsea, the number 9 next season, or do you see Havertz taking over from that? I know he's already, I think already he's a favorite, if I'm not wrong, in my opinion. But what do you think?
Is that question to me?
Number 9.
Okay, go ahead.
Nischal, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Nischal.
Either of them can play as the number 9. Timo Werner is a natural striker. Kai Havertz can play as a false 9. And we're lucky that we have those 2 options. But from what we've seen this season, and especially Euro 2020, Havertz is the natural choice up there. Werner uses his pace out wide. That's where he's excelled more. And especially if Chelsea go into the market and bring in a new striker, Werner will still be included in those plans, and he would be included as a winger on the left-hand side. Kai Havertz can still stay there. He played really well as a false 9 later on in the season. He excelled there against Everton, against Leeds, Champions League final, playing in that attacking role. He was excellent. And we can keep going about next season. But Chelsea do need a striker. So we need to assess, is it worth bringing in a new striker, whether it's someone maybe not as good, like a lower league, or do we go all out for Haaland? And if we do, what happens to Havertz, what happens to Giroud, what happens to Werner. If we don't, what's the point of trying to get another striker? And we're lucky because we do have these options who can play up front. We've got Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud on one side. And then you've got, like we said, Kai Havertz, who's a natural attacker, and Timo Werner, who's a natural striker. So we have these options. I do prefer Havertz in current form as a striker, but that can change when Werner gets his full confidence back in whatever system we go through next season. So we have to wait and see what Tuchel chooses in the new season and what happens in terms of Chelsea's recruitment in the new season.
Fair enough there. So definitely, we are for giving Werner and Havertz a chance, like a long run, right? As in that's something that I would go with as well. Let's address this question, Coachila. Like, what about AC? Like Andreas Christensen, the Danish Maldini, as we call him, right? And then he's going from strength to strength. Like every game I see his leadership qualities coming through, which is something that I really did not see, personally speaking. He was great at ball playing as well as defending at times, especially in the 3-at-the-back system. Having said that, let's assume that Thomas Tuchel is going to experiment a little bit more next season, because there are rumors about us wanting to play up front more. So that may lead to us playing with a back four even at times. So with a back four in the current form, do you see Christensen starting, or do you see Rudiger starting? I know Thiago Silva probably starts if he's fit. That's what I'm assuming, but you may pick any two.
It doesn't mean if you play 3 at the back or 4 at the back. I think he's good enough to do. The only issue I've had with Christensen is lapses in concentration. And that hasn't happened for a long while now. And hopefully he has overcome that that part of his game that has always been the issue. Other than that, the high-profile mistakes that he's made in games, 2 or 3 of them, I mean, if you look beyond those mistakes, you'll see he's a really, really good player. And it doesn't matter if you play 3 at the back or 2 at the back. I think he'll still start games. And remember that he didn't start the UEFA Champions League final. Was probably he got injured a week ago or so before the subsequent games we played, even before that game. He could have started at the right-hand side of the back 3, because it was something that Tuchel experimented with, and it worked very well. Our defense was solid when he played at the right with Thiago Silva in the middle and Rudiger on the left-hand side. Games we played like that, we didn't have issues at the back. So, like I said, it doesn't matter how many center backs we have lined up, or 4 or 3, he will fit in perfectly. And one thing I must say now that I have the chance is he's the closest thing to Thiago Silva that we have at the club. And playing together with him means he learns from the best. And he can take over that mantle from Thiago Silva, and I can assure you he will execute it very well. He's that good. And like I said, we should always look beyond those 3 high-profile mistakes that he's made in games that led to goals or something like that. The guy is a very good player and will adapt to any system that we play.
Yes, absolutely. Like obviously we're just bragging about what players we have here. So let's get back to Euros, right? So Nischal, talking about Denmark, I'll stick to the topic that we are speaking Christensen, right? So on this channel, we did predict Denmark to be the underdogs, unlike many, but we did not expect them to score so many goals, right? I mean, they are scoring goals for fun. So Nischal, do you think it's really something that is there in them, taking long shots, and that's something that you would have seen in those players? Or is it really that extra energy, that zeal that they have, after what happened to Christian Eriksen, obviously? Like, it may be a mix of both, but do you see those players, being there right up there come the semifinals or quarterfinals?
Yes, and it's not a surprise to see Denmark doing so well. They qualified for the Euros alongside Switzerland, played really well. They beat us and they drew us, coming from 3-0 down in Basel. And they qualified so well. And you look at their squad, they've got Kasper Dolberg, Martin Braithwaite, Yusuf Poulsen. They've got good attacking players that have a capability of scoring from long range, all these range of goals. And, it's not a surprise that they've done so well. All that so many people had tipped them, obviously saying that when they lost their first 2 games, we did think, are they going to go through? Have they been scarred by what's happened with Christian Eriksen? But credit to them, they've done brilliantly. They've got a quarterfinal against Czech Republic, and they could really get to the final. I don't see why not. If you look 29 years earlier, when they won the Euros, that was an even bigger shock. They weren't even supposed to be at the tournament, yet they went on and beat Germany in that final. So if they can do that 29 years ago, in those circumstances, with that team against that caliber of opposition, I don't see why they can't do the same this year. They've got a great squad. They're doing brilliantly at this tournament. They're under brilliant management. And we've seen this quality from Denmark for years, going back to the 2018 World Cup, where they took Croatia right to the death on penalties, going to qualification, where they were just a point behind us and going through really, really strong qualification progress. And then through the group stage, beating Russia, beating Wales, and now playing the Czech Republic. So, I do rate them very highly, and hopefully they can keep going and maybe go all the way.
Yeah, and probably they'll probably play England if I'm not wrong. So that'll be interesting in case they beat Czech Republic, right? As in, assuming England beat Ukraine, so that's something to look out for. Yeah, Coachila. So I think I'll come back to the Azpilicueta topic, right? I think Nischal, has pointed out Azpilicueta to be one of the standouts as well. The way he's come in the tournament midway through, and definitely led the defense. Do you see, Coachila, like we as like fans in general, like football fans generally, right? We say that Azpilicueta has lost his legs. He's kind of lost that momentum. Like Spain has just went on to score like 10 goals with him scoring one. They are playing in a back four system with him playing right back. So like I personally see that he still has it in him and playing right back and right wing back even. I know that there was a lot of talk, towards the end of the season in Champions League when he was played right wing back. But Coachila, do you realistically see Azpilicueta being used more as a right back in a back four system, like coming back to the system again?
Yeah, I mean, he's proven time and time again that he's versatile enough to play either left back, right center back, right wing back, however you want to deploy him. I mean, the truth is he's not the most technically gifted player, but what you get from him is 150% commitment whenever he's on the pitch. He gives his all and even more. And I think, like I said, wherever you deploy him, left back, right wing back, he will execute it perfectly. And is he slowing down? He's slowing down a bit, but he's found a way to manage the way he plays that you won't even know that he's aged that much. That he's 31 or 30 right now, right? So I think he takes good care of himself also. He hardly gets injured. So I think he still have a long, like about 2-3 years more before you even start complaining. And I'm not surprised that he was called up for the national assignment with the Spanish team. So he can play in any position, no matter the formation.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up to Azpilicueta for sure. And having said that, Nischal, it's time to talk about your team, Switzerland. That comeback win was something, right? As in, we have to speak about that. It cannot be ignored. Like both the wins, I think the Spain and the Switzerland win were great. But Switzerland win was historic because of the reasons that you said already, right? Like, for sure, I know that me personally, I am a huge fan of Switzerland's wingbacks and the wingers rather, right? But what do you think really, made them believe that, that is what they can do? And, who was the main player in Switzerland who's really to watch out for in the next round?
In the next round, I would have said Granit Xhaka because he's our star player. He's a man who's been brilliant, but of course he's suspended. He's picked up 2 yellow cards in these last 4 games, so he will not be playing. So a player I'd say to look out for is Steven Zuber. He's been superb this tournament. Yeah. Didn't play in the first 2 games. He wasn't in the system. He wasn't in the squad because as a wing back, he's brilliant in attack, but defensively, he's not been good enough, which I've criticised him for in the past. But he came in against Turkey. He got 2 assists. He came in again, or 3 assists, I should say. He came in against France, got an assist, 4 assists. It's a record for him for the tournament, and he's been absolutely superb at wing back. And it's a testament to him because he's a winger in a system that he's not used to, that he's not accustomed to as a winger. He's had to go into the wing back position where Petkovic wants him to play, but he's done brilliantly and really, really strong, especially where we looked before. We've been weak defensively. We've been very easy to break down against sides like Italy, against Wales. But Zuber's come in. He's given us that defensive stability, but most importantly, he's given us that extra creativity because when Shaqiri isn't performing, because he is our key creator, when Shaqiri isn't performing or playing, we have no creativity. But Zuber has come in, given us that option and given us that creativity. So he is one of the players I want to watch. The second, I'd say I've spoken about him a lot, as has Coachila. Denis Zakaria hasn't played or started a game yet in the Euros because of Remo Freuler and Granit Xhaka. But with Xhaka being suspended, like I said before, it should be a midfield of Remo Freuler from Atalanta and Denis Zakaria for Borussia Mönchengladbach. And he is a superb player. He's struggled recently. He's had a lot of injuries. He's been kept on the sidelines, not really got back to full fitness. He is back in the Switzerland squad, but he hasn't been back in that starting role, which he had alongside Xhaka. But now that he's suspended, Zakaria will be back in the squad. He's got a huge chance and a huge opportunity to prove himself against Spain and show that even after all this injury, after all the hype and attention from clubs in England, in Spain and Germany, he is still capable and he's still a top-class midfielder. So Dennis Zakaria and Steven Zuber are the two I'd say to look out for.
Yeah, great calls there. Definitely, it's an afterthought for France, Coachila, because France basically just woke up too late in the tournament, right? And they didn't get to gear 3. So, is it fair to say that Giroud and his attributes were not really used to the fullest? I know that towards the end he was called for and it was too late, and Benzema did quite well, but just a different approach, right? As in getting those crosses in, like Giroud probably he's played like the last major tournament for France if he doesn't get regular football, or do you think Giroud is still having it in him to play the World Cup as well?
I mean, honestly, I followed this game enough to understand and learn that it doesn't matter the age of the player or how long. You can tweak things a little bit to make them fit perfectly to the way you play. And I'd have to say he hasn't started enough games that I thought he'd start. But Benzema isn't a bad option to have on the pitch either. So I just cannot really pick out what their problem was, But in the end, you could argue Switzerland deserves to win the game. It was a good game to watch as a neutral overall. So I don't think it's his age. He's still got it in him. You just have to tweak how you play to have him in the position, put the crosses in on the ground, on the air. He can finish quite well, but you can argue that he's been a bit rusty because towards the end of the season, he didn't play that much games, and he didn't even get to play in the UEFA Champions League final also. So I don't really think it has to do with his age or anything. I think he's still got it in him, but you must tweak your system to accommodate that is the way he plays, and his runs into the box and all that. That is it for me, yeah.
You're right. And obviously with that, France being out and N'Golo Kante, I don't know if he's really a Ballon d'Or candidate. For me, he is, but definitely, as we know in the past, the international tournaments have a big say for, Ballon d'Or. So let's see as in how that goes. Having said that, I know for England, it was a historic day as well, Nischal. And our, folks did not play. Mount, Reece James, obviously, not play. But now that they have won such a difficult fixture, do you see Southgate changing the lineup next and getting in Mount? Because Mount is basically their engine, right? As in, for me, he has to start him. But now it's a difficult choice for him. What do you think?
You can say up for a lot of players. You can say about Jack Grealish, about Jadon Sancho, about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, so many star players in attack that England have who should be starting. I do believe that Mason Mount is good enough to be starting for England, but when you have these changes of systems, these different formations, these different approaches to different games, some players are going to miss out. Not to mention Mason Mount was in isolation away from the squad for 10 days. So naturally, it's not too much of a surprise that he started off the bench, but he brings that extra something to Chelsea, to England, I should say. Same goes with Jack Grealish, and he's someone who has to be starting. Really is a key player for England. And, it really depends on different approaches. Southgate could go with Kane, Sancho, Sterling, Mount, and Grealish in one game, but then it would be an imbalance. Too much attacking, not enough defending. So while England have all of these attacking options and attacking gems, there has to be that balance, and there has to be that, that pragmatic approach where they have those defensive plays, that strong defensive line that's kept a clean sheet in every game so far, but also that strong attack where they're creating chances, they're finishing those chances, and they've got a blend of players. Mason Mount should be starting, and he could be starting, but Chelsea fans and all England fans should be too devastated if he's not. Because if we've learned anything from England, it should be trust in Southgate. And it's hard to say that when he's come under a lot of criticism and he's been sometimes rightly criticised, sometimes unfairly criticised. But Southgate knows what he's doing. He's got the right players in his hands and he can do well. So at this point in time, everyone needs to trust Southgate. Whether they get knocked out or not down the line, yes, you can argue, does he need to be sacked? Does he need to be moved on? But in this tournament, everyone needs to get behind him and trust him with what he's doing, because England have to be good enough to be in the quarterfinals of the Euros and maybe go beyond.
Right. Having said that, like Coachila, we've been speaking about a lot of Chelsea players. I'm sure people in the chat, must be thinking that we are so biased. That's, without a shadow of a doubt, we are, unfortunately. But having said that, like, we have to say some ex-Chelsea players, right? As in, I have to comment personally, Morata, right? Morata, this is one person that I've been, calling that this guy cannot hit the barn's door. But no, he really changed things upside down. You have to commend, his attitude and just his willpower to go through the game. And of course, Luis Enrique as well, the way he came back and scored the crucial goal. Of course, Azpilicueta's goal was very important, but Morata's goal probably won them the game finally, right? As in, another example can be Coachila, the left wing back for Belgium, right? He's not really a left wing back, but playing so now, Thorgan Hazard. Who knew that, Thorgan Hazard will be the big name player come knockout rounds in the Euro 2020 compared to Eden Hazard? While Eden Hazard had a great game and unfortunately injured, but we are looking for a left wing backup. I know he's not a left wing back, but the way Tuchel wants to play, I believe he wants to play an attacking wing back system. So do you feel, Coachila, that Thorgan Hazard is something that we may regret eventually? I know he's still improving.
For left wing back?
Any position for that matter, right? I'm just putting it out there because he is playing at the biggest stage.
I mean, he's a good player overall, but I'm not going to give up any of the players we have in the squad for him right now. I have to be honest with you, and that is me. There's no player in the team right now that I will give up for Thorgan Hazard. Yes, he scored a great goal, one that actually won the game, the lone goal in the match. So, but I don't see any player from Hakim Ziyech to who name any. I don't see any that I was okay. Give me Thorgan Hazard and take him. That's me, honestly. Yeah. Has he improved since he left Chelsea? Yes, he is. He's become a better player.
Yeah. But probably I think Dortmund is, the level where he can really, get a lot of games and he can still improve, right? As in fair point that yes. Yeah. So having said that, like Nischal, another player that I'm going to put out right from our ex-Chelsea teams, one player who kept Luis Suarez in his pocket. Unfortunately, my favorite team, Netherlands, went out because of his assist. That is Thomas Kalas, right? Thomas Kalas has grown, proportions that you can say. And again, you can say that he would probably not get games at Chelsea, but considering that Zuma may be sold, I don't know. There are talks. Thomas Kalas for me is a good fourth choice centre back per se, right? As in, what do you have to think about the loan system? Is it something that is really working in the long run? It is more about the economy of Chelsea that is improving, or you feel these players are going to thank Chelsea and, like I showed in the video, right? As in, they probably believe that they're still blue well within, because in a way Chelsea has helped them, you think, for the platform?
It's a mixed bag in how our loan systems work. For some players, it's worked brilliantly. Thibaut Courtois is one of the prime examples where we loaned him back to Atletico Madrid for 4 seasons. He excelled and grew into the world-class goalkeeper he is today. Even John Terry, who went out on loan early in his career, Frank Lampard too. It has worked, but when you look at players who were just loaned out year after year, Luka Piathon, who just left the club, Thomas Kalas, Izzy Brown, Casey Palmer, all of these talented players who we kept loaning out, we neglected, and now we've sold. I think we're getting better at how we're using the loan system. There's a shift in culture from just using these youngsters for profit and try and shift them aside. We're seeing better use of a loan system. We're seeing more honest use of a loan system. That doesn't mean it's perfect. And in some cases, we've used it really well. Like I've said, there is still improvement to be made. We still need to think how we're using it. Are we using it for profit? Are we using it for youth development? Are we using it for our own benefit? And it depends what we're bored, what Marina Galanskaya, what Thomas Tuchel want to do with these players. In terms of Thomas Kalas, there's no point buying him back. He's doing brilliantly with Bristol City. He's been captain, and he's been superb in the last few years with Bristol City, and it's been great to see him doing so well. And also the Czech Republic, and now in the quarterfinal with his country, he's been brilliant in the tournament, got that crucial assist for the Czech Republic's first goal against the Dutch, and it's brilliant to see him doing so well. But there's no point trying to buy him back, not at this stage of his career at all. And also, he's moved on. He's happy where he is at Bristol City. We wouldn't benefit from bringing him in as a fourth choice centre back, because what we need isn't a fourth choice. We need a first choice centre back for when Thiago Silva moves on next year. The selection we've got right now is fine. Christensen and Rudiger, Silva, and then maybe bring someone else in to replace Tomori. But when Thiago Silva moves on either next year or the year after, we'll need to replace him. And having a fourth choice centre back in that situation would be pointless, and we'd be back to square one. So we need to be looking ahead to a strong centre back. We can bring in someone who can really rival Silva's prowess and Silva's quality. While we can, rise Ampadu through ranks or Gurhi through ranks to come in as that fourth choice centre back, we need to be focusing more on who's going to be Silva's successor once he moves on from Chelsea.
True that. I'll just address this comment quickly from Bobby. Hey Bobby, big up. So yes, so idea is definitely not selling Zuma. Don't get us wrong. The talk of the town is that Zuma may be moved on if we get a good offer, and if we get one of our targets, right? As in that is the talk of the town. Of course, I don't think that's Chelsea's priority, because our priority are our strikers and our midfielders, from what I understand, right? So that's where we need to probably be ready for a backup if in case it happens. Hopefully not, and we all love Zuma for sure, right? So that's great. So guys, we've discussed a lot of Chelsea players in this round. I believe we should look at maybe the future and look to the next section. Sorry. Yeah, some of them are already, I believe, rumored to be linked with Chelsea, and some are not, and we're just throwing it out there just for the sake of discussion, right? And then what is the best option for Chelsea in terms of fit, in terms of cost and availability, right? As in, because of their form and what they've shown on international stage, which has to be discussed, considering the Euros. Having said that, Nischal, I'll start with you, right? As in, one of the options that you saw there is Spinazzola. I think Spinazzola, there are parts of the media which are reporting Spinazzola to be a target of Marina, but there are portions also saying that no, he's not a target, right? As in, for me, he's more of a fullback who plays with his right foot. Tuchel probably plays more of a wing-back system. If he even goes for a back four system, do you see Spinazzola being an option realistically?
I'm not sure. I will say this: Spinazzola has been superb with his tournament. I've really enjoyed watching him. I was at Wembley to see him against Austria, and he had a brilliant game down our left flank, deservedly winning man of a match. And it's so good to see him playing well for Italy off the back of Rome. But we don't need a fullback. It's as simple as that. We don't need any left backs. If anything, we need to get rid of one of our left backs, because we've got Chilwell, Marcus Alonso, and Emerson. We need to offload one of them. And then on the right-hand side, we've got Azpilicueta, we've got James. There's no need to get another wing back or a fullback, especially now. Achraf Hakimi, Chelsea have missed out on him. He's off to Paris Saint-Germain. We don't need to get anyone, whether that's Mbabu who came up, whether that's Zuba who came up as a possible wing back, whether that's Spinazzola. All brilliant players, all had great tournaments, but that's not our priority. We've already said it, and we know we need to get a central midfielder, we need to get a striker. There's no point looking in the market right now for a goalkeeper, for a centre-back, for a wing-back, because that's not where we need to improve. We've got plenty of options there. We've got our strengths there. We need to look at the areas of a pitch where we really do need to improve if we want to challenge for a title, because it's all well and good having 3 world-class left-backs. If we don't have a striker, how are we going to win? How are we going to do well? So Spinazzola, great option, but not right now, and he's not what we need at his present moments.
Yes, it's just continuing with Nischal. Like I think one of the reasons why he was mentioned, obviously in the press, assuming that both Emerson and Alonso get sold, which I also don't see happening. Chelsea are definitely clever enough and smart enough to convince one of them to play at least 25 games, hopefully. Having said that, like you mentioned the other side, right, the right wing back, because we missed, and I know that I put in Kevin Mbabu there, ex Newcastle person, but I had to put in a couple of Swiss people with Nischal being here, right? But I personally don't mind Mbabu. Like he can be like a good backup for me again if Reece James is utilized the right wing back. Now that we have not got Hakimi, he is a good backup option at a right wing back because he has that attacking threat as well as strength. But for that matter, I think Maehle from Denmark is another great shout, because I believe Atlanta, and you have to give kudos to Atlanta, right? They're producing a lot of good football and players, and I know he's recently signed with Atlanta. But do you see, Maehle also? I think we are rumored to be going for him. Is a better shout, compared to say Reece James, a right wing back, or maybe a backup. He'll be happy. I don't know.
Who's that too?
Anyone? Nischal, you can probably go ahead on this one.
You think? Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say we have to seriously consider the profile of the players we'll talk about, because we already have 4 internationals in the same position, or let me say 2 internationals at the same position, and you have to also consider the possibility of the players' willingness to come. Are they willing to come and play second fiddle to some of the players who are there? They consider the international features also while they decide on what club to join. I don't think they will look at what we have right now and say, okay, I'm going there. They'd have to take a player who is so confident in himself that to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go there and I'm going to make that position mine and take it away from Chilwell or Reece James or Azpilicueta, whoever plays in that position. So those are the things we must consider when we look at the profile of player that we want at a club. So, but do I want him? If he agrees, if it's his decision, if he can play second fiddle to, or if he feels like he can come and make the position his own, if he's confident enough, that's fine by me. But I don't see it happening in terms of his level and his importance to his national team.
Yeah, great call that Coachila. I agree that, and here Maehle is just saying, right, as an Aspi rolling back the years into the last Spain game. Yeah, we just discussed that Maehle, and we agree. Azpilicueta is still an option when it comes to right wing back and right back. Definitely is not finished yet. So let's hope that he kind of keeps his form, and we don't need to really sign a right wing back, and we can do with a great striker. Having said that, for strikers, again, there are a couple of names there, Nischal, that I put out. I know Forsberg has been in terrific form, and he's actually performed well in European stage. Orsic is another player who's, played as a second striker like Forsberg at times. I believe Orsic scored the 3 goals against Spurs and, helped them get out of the Europa League this season. But these are 29-year-olds, right? I'm not seeing realistically Chelsea going for them at this point, because at best they'll be backup if, say, Hakim Ziyech leave. Which also I don't see. But any striker that you would like to call out other than the main names, or you would like to still go for, say, the Lukaku, who did not perform well this match but has performed well generally, right?
I stand by what I've said since the start of the transfer window and still the start of the year. Haaland or nothing. There's no point bringing in a decent striker who's maybe Premier League level but isn't a world-class striker that we need to move us towards the title. Erling Haaland is the only player who can do that for me. Lukaku is not going to leave. Kane is very unlikely. We have to go out for Erling Haaland. If we can't get him, don't settle for anyone else. It shouldn't be a situation where we get to deadline day, we haven't bought anyone, and we buy a mediocre striker to fill that hole until Haaland comes, because then we're stuck with either dead wood, or we're stuck with a dilemma where we've got too many strikers in that role and not enough resources, or we don't have a space for Haaland and we have to clear it out. We're stuck in a position where we've got too many players. So it has to be Erling Haaland or nothing. I don't want to be watching the Euros and seeing this striker's been good. Might as well go for him until we get Haaland next season, because that won't do us any good. We need a striker now, even now. And if we can't get Haaland, focus on Havertz, focus on Werner, focus on Abraham. There's no point going out for something that's mediocre and settling for something better. And it's the same we saw with right wing back, where Hakimi's gone and some people are happy to settle for Adama Traore, which is pointless, because there's no point getting a player to fill a quota where they're not particularly at that top level that we need, with all due respect to Traore, and they're not a position we need. We've got to be going for the top players, for world-class players who will really boost our team and improve our squad on paper. And that's the only way I can see us getting a striker, is if it's Erling Haaland. This season, next season, whenever, but he's the only striker I would take.
Yes. So I'm just hoping that maybe Dortmund is watching this and seeing those scouting reports, because I'm sure some of them are at least decent enough to start for Dortmund. I trust me, Forsberg, I know he's a second striker, but he probably played in German league, and you never know, right? As in we somehow get at Haaland freeing up and becoming for a little bit cheaper. that'll be great, right? And very wishful thinking that Coachila. Coachila, any other name that comes to mind from the Euros till now that you think that Chelsea should like really sign, even like sign and send them back on loan, and maybe they'll be ready in 6 months' time? Anyone that comes to mind, or you're good?
The person that comes to mind that you could say is not an out and out striker. I would say Isaac. Is that how you pronounce it? I really liked him. Yeah, I think. But then again, I have to say I'm one of those who's already made up my mind that it's either Haaland or nothing. But if I would suggest somebody, it will be Isaac for me right now, given his age, and we'll build him for the future. So, yeah.
Right. And any other position, Nischal, you see that some potential is there in any of the players that you might have seen also in the league perform, and we could go for them now from the Euros?
As in performers from the Euros, or?
Yeah, any other position, like maybe midfield or defense. You see any player performing in the Euros who's someone that you see that, hey, this person is good at Chelsea. Maybe not right away, but someone for the future, like you really like Chelsea to get someone that you really have.
I think I can remind him one he talked about with his tweet. Denzel Dumfries.
I hope so. I'm being a Dutch fan.
Yeah, he talked about him. I think he tweeted something. I don't know. Your tweet, you were asking, are we looking at this guy or no, something like that. And then I responded with the video that I had Taran with, where Taran scouted him and all that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think
wants to get him. I didn't say I wanted to get the Dumfries.
Okay, I didn't remember the tweet exactly.
Okay, so probably yeah, go ahead.
I was basically saying he's going to be moving this summer from PSV. Where do you see him going? And I said I think I'll see him in England or Italy, but England or Germany, I think even. But like I've said, we don't need a wing back. We don't need any of those players. The only player I can really think of I'd like to get is Dennis Zakaria, and that's nothing based on the Euros alone because he's barely played. That's nothing to do with anything else. It's just because I like him as a player. I know him very well. I've seen him play for years from his early days in Switzerland, and I know he'd be a good player. But to be really honest, genuinely, I'm not a fan of watching the Euros to just look for players who perform well there and then think, yes, we've got to go buy them, because it's all well and good looking for players who perform well in the tournament. But then, do they have that consistency across the season? What have they been like in that regular season? What are they like for their club sides? So there's no one who's really stood out to me. Isaac, brilliant player, someone I'd be interested in the future, but I wouldn't want Chelsea to go out and get him now. And I don't think they would. I think Chelsea are smart enough not to watch the Euros and think, yes, look, Isaac's done really well. Or Patrick Schick, I saw mentioned, thinking, yes, he scored 4 goals. Let's go buy him because he scored goals. No, we can't go with that sort of attitude. We have to be very specific, very dedicated, and think, who are the best players who are going to take us forward? And that won't just be based on 1 month of football. It'll be based on months of scouting, really in-depth analysis from club football, from international football, from in-person scouting. So from the Euros, not everyone that's really stood out that I want to buy instantly. Lots of players who impressed me, don't get me wrong, and lots of games and players who I've really enjoyed watching, but no one that I've thought, yes, we need to spend all our money to go buy them, because that's not how it works. We need to be pragmatic, and we need to be focused on getting the very best players that we've analysed, scouted for months, maybe even years, so we can be the best team that we can be.
Yeah,
and again, I apologize for misquoting you there.
That's fine.
And again, to add to what he said, there's more to scouting than just watching videos on YouTube and saying, because YouTube clips is just clips of where they're doing something great. And the competition also is a one-off thing. So there's more that you have to look at and then put 2 and 2 together and conclude, okay, this is a good player. So I agree with Nischal. And like I said, my apologies for misquoting you.
What I can add there, guys, is the way I see it, definitely say, imagine if we are real scouts, right? Definitely we are looking at a lot of leagues throughout the year, but the idea is people who've probably performed well in the Dutch league, for example, right? As in they've not played at the biggest, the highest stage there, right? As in they're not in the Champions League finals every year, so as to speak. So that is where, maybe if, say, a player from the Dutch team reaches, say, the semis and they perform well, it at least gives an idea about who's a big game player for the future, at least for youngsters. And on the other hand, like Nischal said, right, as in definitely the scouting is basically a process. You don't just go in 2 weeks after seeing the Euros, right? As in, so definitely our scouts might be having some names in there, and they might be performing at the Euros. Classical example can be Lukaku. Buying him back is it worth or not, right? As in, the big question about Lukaku was like, can he perform consistently at the biggest stage when the pressure is on, right? And that's something that is the only thing that we can say. But again, you cannot come to conclusions in 2-3 weeks. And I agree there as well. But yeah, great conversation there, guys. As in, we should look ahead because yes, we have great quarterfinals coming up. So let's get to the final section. Okay, so this is something that we are doing in almost every stream that we're doing for Euros, right? As in the predictions change every 2 weeks, but hopefully, we have stuck to our guns, and most of them have come right from what we believe. Like we definitely believed in last stream that some teams will do well, like Denmark and Switzerland, and they have done well. Of course, now it's time basically to go to the next level, which is the quarterfinals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly share my screen, and we'll go one by one, and I would like the chat to also get involved. Chat, I hope meanwhile you're smashing that like and you subscribe. And I'll just give me a second. I'm just sharing my window. Okay, so here you go. So okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be the neutral here. So obviously Nischal doesn't get to pick the Switzerland-Spain winner. And so we'll probably have to start with Nischal here, and the other people cannot say what he wants or what he thinks. It's got to be one person who's going to pick this, and then we're going to come back to this in the future. You never know, right? With reasoning if you want to. But Nischal, here you go. It's Belgium, Italy first. Who do you think?
I am going to stick with Italy to win because they've been my favourites to win the tournament from the start. In predictions I've done before, I've had this tie come up, Belgium against Italy, and Belgium was superb in this tournament, won every game, conceded just once, and they've been brilliant to watch. But the pragmatism and the quality of Italy stood out to me from the very start against Turkey, against us, against Wales, against Austria. They've been a standout team for me, and I still fancy them, and I still believe they're going to win the Euros. So Italy, I think, will go through.
You know what? My prediction just went out of the window there because I predicted Belgium to win the whole thing. But anyway, fair call. Like, definitely Italy have been the team to beat. Like, no two ways about it, right? Coachila, it's your turn now. Being the neutral, let's wear the neutral hat. But definitely, both teams are on an upward trajectory. That's Switzerland and Spain. What's your call?
As a human being, I'm being pushed to be a bit biased here because I have my friend on the panel too. So anyway, that's by the way. I'll throw that away and be sincere with you. If you watched the games that the Spain has played so far, they have some defensive weaknesses that Switzerland can explore. And Switzerland has the personnel that can also explore those weaknesses. And in the midfield, they have strong and Zakaria coming in. Hopefully he's fit enough, he's good enough to scuff whatever tactics you have in the midfield because he can read the game very well and he can progress the ball very well. And what I've seen from Switzerland, I haven't seen in the Spain team so far. They have togetherness in them. In spite of that, just take away the first game that they underperformed to some measure. But after that, they've been, north ever since, so they've been doing quite well, and I see them coming away with a win there.
Yeah, fair point. Definitely, like it is proving out to be basically one of those key battles, that's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to this tie for sure, right? Quickly, I'll address this comment, right? I've not been keen on the Euros too because of dreadful defensive way England is playing. Like, Bobby, fair call there, mate. But only thing is, it is being effective. So as long as it's effective, I don't know. I think Southgate's got to, take the credit. Like, that's my call.
And to add again, you need a bit of pragmatism to win competitions. If England, if they rely just on their talent and put the Sanchos in and not considering the defensive aspect of the game, then they have a problem. They are where they are today because they've been pragmatic to some measure. They still show you can still see that there are skillful players in the team. You can still see that they have some talent, but you need some measure of pragmatism to do well in a competition like this.
Yep, agreed there, mate. Definitely. So having said that, let's come to Ukraine and England. I'll come with you, Nischal. So Ukraine, England, wearing the neutral hat, you think Ukraine can pull off an upset?
It's definitely possible. Ukraine have been superb in this tournament, really entertaining.
Yeah.
And they were lucky to get away with a win against Sweden, but they fought hard. They deserved that win in the last minute, and they deservedly earned their place in the quarterfinals. This is where I do want to see an upset from Ukraine, and I'm tempted to go with that, but I do believe that England will be too strong. They've been great in this tournament, not a single goal conceded. They're getting stronger and stronger as it goes on. And I can see England coming out on top against Ukraine side, who aren't the greatest, but also aren't the weakest. So it will be an even battle. I feel like there's a lot of overconfidence and optimism from England fans, but they cannot underestimate Ukraine in this tie.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a close game, and I'm sure Shevchenko, knowing the English way of playing, hopefully will have this, come down to a closer game than expected. But yes, England do look strong on paper and have a lot of resources. Last one, Coachila there, Czech Republic, Denmark. You think Patrick Schick again, or is going to be the Danish Maldini?
On paper, it's easy to pick Denmark, but like I've said, I've followed this game enough to know that you cannot script football, But the Danes, they've been great since after that horrible incident that we all witnessed. They came back from it stronger, and ever since they've been doing quite well. I see them coming out with a win in that game.
Denmark, that is?
Yes. Denmark.
Yeah, fair call. Definitely Denmark, England is a tasty tie, as well as basically Italy, Switzerland. Now, I think Nischal has already said that he's having Italy as a winner. Nischal, if I'm not wrong, eventually. Can you say that or no?
I'm not going to comment on that tie. I'm not. I did say.
Honestly,
I'm not going to comment on that tie. It's too painful.
Yeah, I understand that. You know what? We will kind of keep it to there because we don't want to kind of take it further, and we'll come back to this. Hopefully, with the Switzerland win, and they are probably the small form team as well. So you never know, right? And in the other game, you guys see England getting a bit of Denmark. I'm asking both of you.
They could, but Denmark is strong. Denmark are very, very strong.
Yeah, defensively, both teams are strong, right? As in that'll be an interesting, a cagey match, so to speak. That's what I'm predicting. But yes, guys, I think that's been a great watch. We've ended our predictions right there because we will come back to it, as you know, in every round, and we don't want to kind of keep changing the predicted winner after all. And definitely, looking at a lot of predictions coming right. And Nischal, all the best for Switzerland. Definitely, a great team to watch, and I have to give, a big up to Taron because Taron was the person who called right on this very channel just 2 days ago that Switzerland is going to win. So big up to him for that, and hopefully, England as well will reach the final and we'll have an England-Swiss final. You never know, and that's what we are going for, guys. Thank you. It's been an hour-long watch. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please smash that like button as well as subscribe. And do not forget Chelsea Perspective. Yes, Coachila is there on the panel today. You can find his details underneath, and you will have all the details there to just go and hit the subscribe button. And same with RCBian Chelsea Fan TV. Without a shadow of doubt, go subscribe to the blog of Nischal because that's a great blog. He is a writer where you get every bit of information, every update that you can look out for any football that's happening for Chelsea, for Switzerland, as I've known, right? So Nischal, over to you. How was your experience, and anything that you would like to speak about the Switzerland team or just the chat in general?
No, thank you for having me on, and thank you for the well wishes about Switzerland. Hopefully we can go on, and it's still surreal that we're in the quarterfinals, but it's brilliant to be in this position and even be in a quarterfinal. So I'm very proud, and hopefully Hopstreets the rest of the tournament. If you've enjoyed what you've heard from me today, you can find all of my work on nishalsblog.com, articles, videos, podcasts. I've just released the latest piece in the build-up to Switzerland against Spain, looking back at our 1-0 win over Spain in the 2010 World Cup, our famous night. So you can read that now on nishalsblog.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Nischal_SP to follow all of my work and see everything that's going on with Chelsea, with Switzerland, with politics, anything. But thank you for having me on.
Yep, great stuff there, mate. And Coachila, any last words that you would like to address to the chat?
Yeah, before I say anything, I'd like to say thank you for making me part of this great conversation about the Euros and the Chelsea players at the Euros. I sincerely do appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be part of it. It is Chelsea Perspective on Prospect, no T-I-V-E, no I-V-E on Twitter, Chelsea Perspective on Instagram, Chelsea Perspective on YouTube, on Chelsea Perspective on Reddit. So, I produce videos from the perspective of Chelsea Football Club, match reviews and on. So hopefully I'll see you guys there.
Okay, guys, I think that's it for now. Everyone there, have a good one, and hopefully we, meet again after the quarterfinals and have a great time. Meanwhile, while we all take care of ourselves, right? And thank you all.